This one comes from Summer. How much does Bob Iger actually believe in the modern audience sentiment in Kathleen Kennedy and Alik's vision? What kind of folks work there now?
So it's interesting you mentioned Iger. Iger, I don't think is an ideologue. A lot of people believe he is. He's definitely left. He definitely believes in the left, but I don't think he's a strict ideologue. One of the things I noticed, and one of their bigger problems, is Iger is constantly undermined by the executives around him, and he doesn't realize it. When we were, my first interaction with him was a few months in. He gave three pieces of advice to our team after we did our demo pitch, and I was very impressed. These were not what I expected from a businessman. It was don't cheapen out. This thing has to look good. The name doesn't quite roll off the tongue. Let's work on it. It was solid advice that our team had been discussing internally. And the moment he was out the door, and I mean the moment the door was shut, they were talking about ways they could undermine him without looking like they were undermining him because they wanted to cheapen it out because that would look better for them. They One of the executives, it was their name and they didn't want to give that up. So that was a project that didn't do well, that failed largely because they ignored his advice, and the executives that ignored it were promoted because he doesn't remember all the advice he gives. He gives every team an hour or two a year, if that, and so that's a huge problem. Kathleen Kennedy definitely is someone who is a firm believer. She's not shy about admitting it on camera about the direction she's taking it, and I believe she's a bit resentful of what she's inherited, and that's unfortunate.
Wow, that's interesting. You would think like Iger would have somebody with him recording like conversations or taking notes of what he says, so when like something fails, he can go back and be like, "Well, I said this and you didn't do it. You're fired, not promoted." What a
Right.
wild concept.
Yeah,
Idiot.
especially back then, because I feel like nowadays he is just trying to find any out he can. It's why they
Mhm.
got Chapek. Chapek was a horrible pick. Everyone knew it, but it was like, get him out so Iger can leave. And then they had to bring him back. Imagine how bitter he is. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I would have expected him to do like what Blabs was saying, record something, document back
Mhm.
then. Now, dude doesn't care. That's why we have Kathleen Kennedy, because he's like, just fill the spaces so I can leave and retire already. Like, that's
Yeah.
all he wants. He doesn't care.
Hmm.
Wild. Crippled Head says, does Kathleen Kennedy have dirt on LucasArts or Disney in general? She's got to know something to not have been fired yet.
I honestly don't know if she does. I know that's been the talk of the internet. I've heard nothing but the rumors you've heard on that front. The other possibility is a lot of people in these high creative roles get something in their contract where they basically can't ever suffer negative consequences. The reason for this is, if it, Lucas has talked himself, creativity is a gamble. You put your best out there, and not all of it's going to land. So they do want some protections to say, like, look, if what I send out there flops, you can't fire me for it. But of course, others kind of abuse it, and they send out flop after flop after flop, never adjusting, never changing, never learning. I believe she falls into the latter category, and it may be as simple as that. Her contract protects her.
Or Steven Spielberg. All right. The last question for you, Rob, is from I can't speak English. Alpha Omega and says, "What's Rob's thoughts on Disney attempting to get into the anime business? Apparently, they tried to buy some anime studios directly, but were shot down."
Yep, they've been trying a few things. 2016, when Disney was still going really hot, there was even talks of buying Nintendo internally. Nintendo was
What?
not interested in the slightest, in case you're
Yeah.
curious.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, I'm not surprised. They definitely would have loved to have bought and owned Studio Ghibli entirely. Iger's MO has been, buy, 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 and that's a studio he would have loved to get his hands on. Broader anime studios, Japanese studios, as much as they love working with the West, they don't like being owned by the West. So they've hit some hiccups there, and I don't expect anything to really come through with that. An interesting note, though, uh, I believe the Moana sequel was not done by local Disney Animation. I believe it was a Canadian studio that did the animation.
interesting.
And so I
Like the
believe,
first Moana,
no, the
the new
the
one.
yeah, the new one. And so I believe they're testing the waters to see if they can start outsourcing animation
Oh,
partially to get
so we'll have to go watch it and see.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so we'll see. They're probably trying to get their hands on some external studios that maybe make their way into Japan, maybe get some of that. But I also fear that they're looking to just downsize what they have here too, which is unfortunate.